The bitumen, cement and building products giant Boral reminded us today that past performance is no guarantee of future success. Boral today reported a huge turnaround in net profit. It swung from a $1.15 billion loss last year to a net profit of $639 million this year. That's a 156% turnaround from revenue of about $5.3 billion. It was an impressive set of numbers. But a murky outlook is what has spooked investors. Boral has detailed the financial toll of the lengthening lockdown restrictions on construction in multiple states. The dividend was scrapped and shares dived about 5.5% to close at $6.48. Zlatko Todachevsky is the CEO of Boral, and he joins me on Money News. Welcome, Zlatko.
Thanks very much, Brooke.
I want to start with that big turnaround in net profit. What went well for Boral last financial year?
Well, I think if you go back to FY20, Brooke, that was a really challenging year, and the negative statutory net profit we had really reflected the very, very large impairment we took predominantly in North America. So I'd say that was a bit of an anomaly, but this year the statutory profit includes the profit that we made, particularly on the sale of our USG Boral joint venture. So when you normalise for those two, I think we're pleased with the progress we've seen in the business. We delivered substantial transformation benefits that boosted EBIT earnings in Australia, and we saw a strong turnaround, particularly in our North American building products business, that contributed to the total operational results in the year. So both of those jointly were quite strong relative to what we've seen previously.
That was then, and now we have pretty shaky ground, I guess we can all agree. You flagged a $50 million hit to profit in the current 3 months, so that's July, August, September. Just paint a picture for us of how lockdowns and construction go-slows are impacting Boral at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a really frustrating situation, frankly, Brooke, because if you think back to last year, through all of the lockdowns and issues around the pandemic, construction remained open. So I guess nobody in our sector or any of our customers foresaw that construction would be shut down in July of this year. So it came as a real surprise when New South Wales took that decision in mid-July. And frankly, we got no warning about that. So we had to then scramble to deal with which operations shut down. We had to stand down 630 people. And frankly, we couldn't give them any certainty on when operations would commence again. So it was quite a challenging environment for everybody. And then you've seen further restrictions happening in South Australia, construction shuts in ACT and restrictions happening in Victoria. It's just a really challenging environment. So what we're really looking for now is some clarity on how we can reopen construction, provide people with some confidence. And ideally, we'd love to see a much more national approach to not only how lockdowns might occur in the future, but more importantly, the pathways to coming out of that to give everybody the clarity and confidence they need.
So you put a figure of $50 million on the hit from July to September, but this is the point. Lockdowns won't end in September, and they're going to be slower this year to be lifted than they were last year. So what do you picture October to Christmas looking like?
Look, if you go back to the period before the lockdown started to happen in July, Brooke, we were really positive. We had seen very, very strong volumes in May and June and quite an anomaly compared to what we'd seen in the year prior. So we were feeling quite good about the underlying demand, and it was quite strong into the first couple of weeks of July. So the lockdowns couldn't have come at a worse time. Sitting here today, what we're looking for is clarity on the pathway to reopening not only the broader economy, but particularly construction. So what will it take to ensure that we don't have further lockdowns? What are the restrictions that are appropriate? And frankly, construction operated quite well last year. So sitting here today, I don't believe that construction shuts were required, but they've happened. So how do we get out of that and give everybody the certainty that we need? That's what we'd like to see through the balance of this calendar year.
You'd have to imagine it hit October to December as well, though, in addition to July to September, given what you've said, though. I mean, that's not going to come anytime soon, everything you've just wished for there.
Well, what we've seen, if you think about the different market experiences we've had, Brooke, so, Adelaide or South Australia more generally, there was a one-week construction shut, and 4 weeks later, we're seeing volumes ramp up, but not yet where they need to be. So it's easy to shut down construction. It takes a lot of time to ramp it back up when you've got to reorganise trades and materials and supply chains. So there is a lingering effect. We've got visibility to what we think will happen over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Beyond that, it's quite uncertain. But I think the underlying demand is good. We just need to get restrictions lifted so we can meet that demand.
You're the perfect person to chat to because you're a national company, you're supplying crucial materials for construction projects, anything from residential builds to major nation building infrastructure projects. So you are literally active everywhere. So your read on this is certainly very timely and crucial for us, I think, to understand. More broadly, you're unwinding a big offshore expansion strategy pursued by your predecessor, Mike Kane. The US-based fly ash business, purchased for $3.5 billion 5 years ago, it doesn't sound like you're going to make your money back. Will you end up copping a loss on that one?
Well, just maybe to remind everybody, Brooke, we did take quite a large impairment in August of last year where we wrote down the value of our North American businesses in total. That includes both building products and fly ash. And yes, there was a $3.5 billion Australian acquisition done in Headwaters, but that included some building products. So we successfully sold that building products business a couple of months ago. We announced that we were going to get US $2.15 billion. The last remaining business in North America is fly ash. So we're at the final stages of that. We now have a short list of some very interested parties. Obviously, I can't talk about the value range that we're thinking about, but I'd love to come out of the North America experience, at least washing our face and not carrying a loss on those sales.
And, of course, the other big issue that's been, at the forefront for the last couple of months is billionaire Kerry Stokes' Seven Group staging a classic corporate raid, becoming now a new majority shareholder. So bringing up the stake from 20% in May to about 70% by the end of July. Ryan Stokes, your new chairman there at Boral. Kerry looms large in the picture. And I guess common sense says with names like Kerry and Ryan Stokes now very much in the picture, they've got some kind of strategy that they'd like to pursue. What kind of pressures are they putting on a change of direction or decisions being now made for the foreseeable future?
And I can't speak to, Brooke, what their strategy as Seven Group might be, but what I can say is in all the conversations I've had with Ryan, either before the takeover was launched or since he's rejoined the boardroom, we've had complete alignment. I think they understand and respect the strategy that we've outlined. He's been very supportive of the portfolio actions we've taken. The pace at which we're moving, everybody recognises is quite fast here. So I'd say there's absolutely no misalignment. And frankly, I haven't seen Seven Group pushing any kind of agenda onto the board in the conversations we've had since he's rejoined. I think it's a really constructive conversation, man.
Zlatko Todashevsky, thank you so much. CEO of Boral, appreciate your time on Money News.
Thanks very much, Brooke.
131873 if you want to chat with me on the program tonight. I mean, I think that is just such an admission, isn't it? That the impact on the construction industry of the confusion that's been delivered by the state and federal governments means even the biggest companies in construction say they don't have any visibility on the situation beyond the next 6 weeks. Yeah, sure, we have an evolving situation. We get that part. But what a failure of leadership. The confusion that has been created, the wasted effort, the tangled web of restrictions and miscommunications about how everyone's supposed to have been managing all of this. And what on earth happens beyond the next 6 weeks, we don't even know. So I wonder what your experience is, especially if you're in the construction space. 131873, or you can text me 0460 873 873. Maybe you also agree with the CEO of Boral there that underlying demand is actually good. You've got a good pipeline. It's just getting through this next little while, however long that lasts.